Hello and welcome back to the Yarnhole's Crafting Podcast. My name is Sasha and this is episode 66, I think. It's been 3 weeks since my last regular episode, and today I have 3 works in progress, some knitting drama, and my Finnish yarn haul. Yeah, let's start with the whips. So, I haven't finished anything. I've only been back a few days at the time of recording. I have worked a little bit on a couple of other projects. Not really any progress that's noticeable. I didn't see the point in dragging them out for you to see when there was there's like 3 rows on my jumper, which, yeah. I think the only real progress I've done on that is switched it to a longer cord. And it was a bit bunched up anyway. So, we're going to start with the 2 projects I took with me to Finland. I shall start with this one. They're all messed up. Don't think you know which one it is because of the bag. They all got mixed around, and one of them had some drama, and a lot of drama. So, we'll talk about that one second. This was the first one I took, which has given me absolutely no problems, surprisingly. And the yarn for this, so the 2 projects I took with me to Finland were socks. So this is the first one. So this is the Opal merino wool. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce this in German because I will butcher it. And that is the colourway. I'm sure it'll be on screen. If I can find this, I will link this in the description box below. With Opal, they tend to do them in like releases, so this one probably isn't available anymore, and I also bought this like last year, so. But these are to make a pair of socks for my partner. And I took these with me because I figured it would give me a bit of a colour variance. So these are a faded sets of blue. And I'm just gonna... I have made this much progress. So when I went to Finland, I had just the cuff and maybe 2 or 3 rounds. When I got back from Finland, I was ready to start the heel flap. The only thing that I've done since getting back is start the heel flap, so I was literally there when I got back. So this is my progress. So it's coming along. I was hoping to have a bit more progress on this done, but it is what it is. So I'm just going to pin this back together. So these are 72 stitches on a 2.75mm needle with 20 rounds of 2x2 rib and then 70 rounds for the leg. He decided he wanted a slightly shorter leg for these, so yeah. I think I'm a little over halfway through the heel flap. Yeah, I have about 7 repeats left on the heel flap, so it's coming along. Like it's not big progress, it's not like major, but it's something. So, you know, I quite enjoyed these. During our trip in Finland, we hit up 3 cities. So we started in Helsinki, then we got a train which is nearly 4 hours long to get to Jyväskylä. Jyväskylä. I'm butchering that, but I'm not butchering it quite as much as before I went. And during that 4-hour train ride, I was working mostly on, well, this was the only project I worked on the train because my other project was in my main suitcase, which is in a locker. But I was working on these and I got a good chunk of that done then. These were not the ones I had for the plane journey going out. These were supposed to be my socks for the plane journey back. However, my partner fell asleep on the one side of me, leaning into me, and the person who was sat next to me on the other side, instead of leaning the other way because she had an aisle seat, because we were literally in the middle of the plane, 3 seats, instead of leaning towards the aisle where there was space, she was insistent that she was going to be leaning over here. So I was there the entire plane journey going, oh, this is great. It was fine. Like, my partner fell asleep, which, it's fine. So, project number 1, and I've pinned that awkwardly. There we go. So, sock project number 2. And this is the one we had some drama with. Let's see if you can spot where the drama came from. Have you worked it out yet? These were not the socks I cast on to take with me. The socks I'd cast on to take with me was a Himalayan sock wool. It had yarn bathed and been a right little bitch to get started. And then I got through the cuff. I did a little bit of the main body because I took those with me. The Saturday before I flew out, I took those with me because I went to a friend's house. We were meeting up, which I'll get to a bit later because there's yarn involved from that. I'd gone over to his place. I have the spare key to his apartment because I take in parcels for him occasionally, or I pick stuff up and take them over. So I let myself in and was working on it, and the yarn bathed again. And at that point, I just went, you know what, enough's enough, I'm done. I put them onto scrap yarn in case I decide to go back to it. I'm not going back to it. There's no chance. There's absolutely no chance. So I'm going to cut them. I'm going to weigh what I have left. I've had to throw away so much yarn from that project already because it was not savable from the yarn bathing. It was atrocious. So that will be coming out of my stash. I don't know whether I'm going to keep what's left and use it in a scrap project. I haven't worked that bit out yet, but I decided enough was enough. I wasn't enjoying the process. I was angry with it. I was really, really pissed off with it, and I was like, I had that much of the first sock. You know, no, not worth it. If you ask me, it's just, other people might be able to push through, wind it into a ball, cake it all up, deal with all the knots. I am usually quite good at dealing with it and pushing through, but not worth it. Have I lost money on that yarn? Yes. Was it worth what I paid for it? No. Lesson learnt, I will never be buying from that company again. But I instead cast on a new pair to take with me, and this is how far I got while I was away. This is still the first sock, however I cast this on the Sunday before, the Sunday before we flew out. I got the rib done, and then I worked on this on the plane going over. And I got I'd done a little bit, I think, just past the ribbing, but I can't have been more than that, like that little red stripe at most. I got to the heel flap on the plane. So I wasn't able to start the heel flap on the flight because my double pointed needles were in my checked luggage. To try and avoid getting flagged at security, I put basically everything I could get away with into the checked. And I still got flagged at security for 2 reasons, but I'll get to that in a bit. It wasn't anything serious. I think one of them was a phantom thing, so. But I got that much done. There is 65 rounds. And the reason for that is I was like, I only want a 60 round leg. Counted it and realised I'd done 63. So, I just knitted 2 more rounds. I was like, you know what? Doesn't really make that much difference. But, so much happier with these. So, these are 64 stitches on a 2.5mm needle. The main body is done on a 9-inch circular. I do the heel flap on DPNs just because it's slightly easier for me at the moment. And then I switch to magic loop to do the toe. And that's because I can't really do the toe on the 9-inch. It gets really tight, really fiddly, really annoying. I'll just switch to magic loop for the toe. It's easier. It's annoying, but it's easier. And so I have 20 rounds, 2x2 rib, 65 rounds for the leg, heel flap and gussets, 64 rounds for the foot, and now I'm on to the toe. And yeah, this is how far I got. So, given I hadn't cast these on when you last saw them, and I've been on holiday for 2 weeks, I'd say that's quite good going. I would have loved to have had at least one sock finished, but you know what? Being on the toe, it's basically finished. Yes, Sasha, what bloody yarn are you using? Yes, I should get to that now, my apologies. This lovely, lovely, sparkly, surprisingly variegated for me, sock yarn, is Stylecraft's Head Over Heels. This is a 73% superwash wool, 25% polyamide and 2% polyester. And that polyester is for the sparkle. And as you can probably tell by the label, this is a Christmas yarn. This is called Nativity. And there is the... I bought this last year. I think it was actually around this time last year. And I think that because I remember seeing this yarn technically before my yarn shop got it in. I go to a knit and natter at my local yarn shop on a Monday morning. The rep happened to come in that Monday and she showed off this wool. And I believe it was this time last year because a few weeks back she came around again during the thing and showed off this year's colours of this same yarn. And will I be buying some of that? I'm being side-eyed by the yarn I bought from Finland. Yes, I'll be buying some of it. They have come out with some more masculine colours this year. And I think my partner would like at least 2 of them. So, yes, they are all sparkly yarn. My partner already has sparkly socks. He's not afraid of his masculinity. If he wants to wear sparkles, he will wear sparkles. Also, they're socks. If somebody's complaining or saying, oh, you can't be very masculine, you're wearing sparkly socks. What the fuck are you doing looking at my partner's feet, mate? So, very happy with how these have come out. I'm going to try and get the toe finished later today and start on the second sock. And then attempt to get at least 2 pairs finished this month, because I didn't finish any in July and I've got that goal of knitting 12 pairs of socks this year, so we can give it a go. I've already got the first sock of another pair finished. And I think I've cast it on. I think I have the cuff of that done. I can't remember, but we'll get there. And then the last whip that has seen a significant amount of progress. Apologies, my leg is trying to go to sleep. One moment. Also, I'm not going to flash you. I have biking shorts on underneath, so don't worry. And now my last whip that actually has enough progress to show you, to be worth showing you, is this little scarf. Now, I don't think I moved that the last time I showed it to you, because I think I was actually up here. But that is still a significant amount of progress. So this is just a little scarf using 2 larger leftovers I had from a project. The blue is the Woolly Tangle, Verdigris Blue. The green is Juniper Moon Farm Findley DK Dappled in the colourway Mint. The Juniper Moon Farm is discontinued yarn. The Woolly Tangle was it's a hand dyed, so I don't think this colour's available anymore because I can't find it on our website. They are both 50/50 merino silk, and that is the progress I've got. So it's kind of based loosely off of the Sophie scarf, but personally I was not paying for the Sophie scarf pattern. It's just garter stitch with an applier die cord. No shade to people who buy it. I've just been knitting long enough that I could work it out. Yes, I'm aware that I'm increasing a lot quicker than she was. It doesn't bother me. I quite like how this is turning out. However, my original plan was to just keep going and keep increasing until I run out of yarn and have it as just a large triangle shawl kind of thing. Like mini shawl. That's not going to work. I've worked out I do not have enough yarn to make it even long enough to work, so I am going to have to start decreasing shortly in order to have enough yarn to make it long enough to use as a scarf. So yeah, I am going to have to go a minute because my camera is overheating even though it is sitting on an ice block. I will be back. And I'm back. I do apologise. Apparently my partner had been playing with my GoPro in Finland, messed around with some of the settings, and on top of all of that, the media mod was causing it to retain more heat even though it sat on top of an ice block, which should be keeping it cool. So should we talk about yarn and stash enhancement, or I don't know if at this point you can call it stash enhancement, given how much there is. I don't know why I chose this year to try and be stash negative, because it's not going to happen. Right, we shall start with the stuff that didn't come from Finland. Shortly before I went, like 2 days before on a Saturday, I went to visit a friend of mine. He'd been over to America to attend a funeral. I completely forgot that I'd asked him if he was going to be near a Michael's, could he grab me some yarn? Well, he did go to Michael's and get the yarn I asked for. Now, this is only technically 2 cakes of yarn. However, they're 250 grams each. So, I have 500 grams of the Karen latte cakes. People might remember this from earlier this year. early last year, holy moly, that was a while ago, I made a teddy bear sweater, or I'm calling it my teddy bear sweater, using this. And I am now going to make my partner basically a matching one using this very fluffy yarn. This is the Colourway Pepper Ash. He did pick this out off the website, the colours, so I have this. So he currently has 3 sweater quantities of yarn in my stash. 3. This one, the Rowan felted tweed, and a fingering weight that shall go unmentioned, just in case he's watching this. So that is stash enhancement number 1, 500 grams. I will probably start working this up pretty much as soon as, probably in around September, I'll probably cast this on. These do come with free patterns on, I'm guessing, the inside of the warband. However, I won't be using that. I'm going to be making a jumper. It will be freehand because, yeah, but this is what I have. So we'll add that to the spoiled boyfriend category, or spoiled partner, however you wish to phrase it. Now we get on to the Finnish yarn that I bought, or the yarn I bought in Finland. I think technically I've got some Italian, Finnish, Norwegian, a bit more Scandinavian, I can't remember exactly which one it is. I've also got a hand-dyed yarn from a hand dyer. Yeah, so it doesn't even fit into 2 bags. Okay, technically, if I take these 2 really big fluffy skeins out, it's 1.5 bags. And I say that because this is... I will probably cast this on quite soon. Oh my god, I cannot put that on my lap at the moment. And these are 100 gram balls. From what yeah, 100 grams. And they have approximately 250 meters in each. And this is Lanas di Nord, which is an Italian yarn. I went to 2 yarn shops in Helsinki. Excuse me. I went to 2 different yarn shops in Helsinki. One was a big one in the city centre, which I only bought 1 thing from. And another one was a little one tucked away, sort of out of the way. But we walked past it every single day from our hotel to get to the city centre to go to the other attractions we were going to. So my partner, being the supportive little devil he is, said, why don't we pop in there one day? And I walked in. I saw fluffy purple yarn. And I bought fluffy purple yarn. Technically, I did have a bit of a dilemma. I wasn't sure if I was going to get this one or a green one. In the end, I chose to go with this one because I thought it would be a little bit more wearable with other outfits, whereas the green was a little bit more... The green I could only really wear with certain outfits, whereas the purple would go with a lot more outfits. So let's talk about this yarn. So this is 48% alpaca, 44% muslin-free wool, and 8% nylon. And it is technically a bulky weight yarn, but this is what it looks like. It is very fluffy, very soft. It's Lanes de Nord, Priuma Alpaca de Grade luxury line, and it is very, very soft and very, very luxurious. And the shop attendant who was in there that day pulled out a big poncho she had made using 4 skeins of this. However, it was incredibly wide. Even she said it was way too wide. I made the decision to just buy 2 skeins of this, and I'm also going to be making like a little poncho pullover. However, I'm not going to be making just like 2 big rectangles, sewing them together and leaving a neck hole. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do it yet, but that's how I'm going to do it. That's what I'm going to make with it. So this goes from dark purple on the outside to basically white in the centre. Or maybe it's grey. So I am going to use these and make a poncho pullover thing, and I'm so excited. This is only 200 grams of yarn. It's recommended 6 to 8 millimeter needles. I will probably use 6 because if I use 8 millimeters, it's going to kill my hands. Why are you flashing again? One moment. It's getting a little bit warm. This might be very chunky, very bitty today. But 200 grams of yarn, chunky weights. Shouldn't take me that long to work it up once I get going. But this is currently way too hot to work with right now. Especially once it gets big enough that it's sitting on my lap. So yeah, we shall see. I'm not going to put it down because it's very, very warm. Also, because of the hot weather since getting back, I have not been able to pick up my spinning because I'm too clammy to work with fibre at the moment. And now we have the other 2 bags. I'm going to go with this one first because this lot came from 2 different shops. The other one only came from 1 shop, but it's 2 quantities. And this is technically 3. My hair is going everywhere. Right. The other yarn shop we visited in Helsinki, it was much bigger. There's a lot more variety, but a good chunk of it was stuff I could find elsewhere. Not like, it's stuff that I can access in the UK mostly, or stuff that I've used before and just wasn't that keen on. They had an entire section of Sandnes yarn. However, at the time I was not interested in what they had on offer. However, from this shop, I'm just going to move you one moment. From this shop, I bought nothing for myself. And in fact, I don't even think I paid for this. I think my partner bought this. My partner is not a green fella. He's not really into green, yet he really liked this yarn. And this yarn does this. So it fades, which I am looking forward to making him socks with this. These might be the next cast on. Yes, I can hear you crying up there. So this is the next one. I believe there is a section of white in the middle that I can pull out once I get to the black. This is 100 grams. It's a 75-25 standard 400 meters. I am pretty sure I can get his socks out of this. out of the 50 grams, like a sock out of each. I might have to like err on the side of caution. We'll see how the other socks go. So we will work with that. So this is Concept by Katia. Oh, this is also an Italian yarn. Cool. And it is the Symmetric Socks and More Degrade. Premium Socks and Degradia? There's an accent over it. But this is probably one of the least interesting things I purchased. And yet I am very looking forward to seeing how this is. They didn't have very many colours of this. If they'd had like a pink or a purple or something, I might have got one for myself. I may have even got a green for myself, but this was the last green one they had. So that is 100 grams. So we have 500 grams come in from the American yarn, 200 from my fluffy alpaca, 100 socks for my partner. We're already at 800 grams. Oh, okay. This is wrapped up. One moment, please. Oh, this, before you can hear the rustling, this tells me which shop I bought this from. This came from a little yarn shop in Turku. We went to visit some friends after going to the motorsport rally up in Jyväskylä, which we went to after Helsinki. So now, this yarn was bought for me by my partner as an apology. And that's because the one day we were in Jyväskylä, he went to this World Rally Championship. It's some sort of motorsport. I'm not going to pretend I know tons about it. But on the Friday, I had gone into the city on my own. I was dropped in the city on my own. I was going to go shopping. I did some yarn shopping from the other shop in Jyväskylä. And then I met up with them later. Due to circumstances outside of their control, they ended up in the city a lot earlier than anticipated. And I got dragged to one of the city stages. And I got absolutely soaked. It started to rain. Like, it started to rain heavily. Like, just buckets and buckets and buckets loads. And I was dressed for the summer weather that we had left the cabin in that morning. I was in a nice loose flowy skirt. I had my biking shorts on underneath. I had a knit top on. Thankfully, my raincoat had been in the car. I got absolutely soaked all the way through. Like, even my cycling shorts were soaked, and so were my undergarments under that. I got dragged there. I got soaked. I was miserable. I was cold. And then motorsports is loud. Very loud. I don't do loud. I don't do cars popping and banging right next to me that you can feel it in your chest. I was not a happy chappy. So when we were in Turku, there was a yarn shop literally 2 minutes from our hotel. So he bought me yarn. Yes, he is a keeper. And he bought me yarn, including another pair of socks for him. And are we noticing a theme here? Like, it's green. It's green. Am I turning him into a green fella? So, this is and I hadn't realised this, from the same company as the other socks, Katia Designs or things, Concept, Symmetric Socks and More Paradise, and these are supposed to turn out like this. However, this is an 80-gram ball. This is only 80 grams. Where's the, yeah, 80 grams. It's also a 75-25. And my partner has client feet. So we found a mini to go along with it. Now, I am still sticking to my not buying minis. Like, if I'm buying it for a sock set, it doesn't count as a mini. But this is one of the hand-dyed ones. Oh, excellent, by a brand I am not having a hope in hell of pronouncing. I'll pop it up on screen. There is their label. So, this mini will be doing, at the very least, cuffs and heels. Depending on how much yarn I have left when I get to the white halfway points, it might do toes as well. Which is going to be interesting because this is only 20 grams. I would prefer to have 25 grams to be safe, but yeah, we'll work it out. I will probably knit these first to see how much of this I use, and then gauge like leg length for this one from this one. Of course, because I do heel flap and gussets, there's more yarn used when making a heel flap and gusset than if I did, say, a short row heel. However, the short row heel would not fit my partner. Me and my partner have quite high arches, so we need the extra space given to us by a heel flap and gusset. So, once again, this can go in the spoiled boyfriend category. Because he has 2 pairs of socks and a jumper already. Thankfully, the other 3 projects to talk about are all for me. So, he has 3 quantities of yarn here, and I have 4. So much for the selfish knitting year. Right. Shall we talk about the hand dye? Let me just move that. So this is Urike, yeah, it's that. And this is a hand dyer from the city of Turku, which is one of the cities we visited, one of the cities we visited, stayed in. This is a 75-25 superwash merino. And the colourway, Labnus. There is accents that I don't know how to pronounce in this. But this is very autumnal. Now, I'm not usually an orange person, like personally, but I quite like this. This is definitely giving autumn. And you watch, I'll try and translate the name of this, and that's literally the name of this yarn, I bet you. Place your bets now. Answer coming in 3, 2, 1. It's flashing on screen. So, but I quite like this. There's the greens for me, the oranges for falling leaves. It's very pretty. It's kind of. So when I bought this one in March, this says spring, if you ask me, and this says autumn. So I think I'm gonna have like matching or like coordinating socks in a way with these two. but I like this. This is lovely. And it's nice to have bought from a hand dyer based in one of the cities we were staying in. So it's very nice. And now the big boy. So that's 900 grams of yarn. Now, is it more? No, it's more than that. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's a kilo of yarn right there. So we have fluffy, fuzzy, and 3 pairs of socks. So this is the big yarn shop I went to in Jyväskylä. I don't know how this is pronounced, given it's double Y, but I'm gonna say it's something along the lines of Titea, or Titia. Titi? Titai? Tititi? Something along those lines. And from that shop, I brought 2 garment quantities of yarn. Oh! Sorry, random find as I was looking through this. I've just found my earbuds. I must have put them in there to keep them safe during the journey home. Interesting find. So let's pull out the first quantity, and I bought more than I thought because there's actually an extra skein of the other one. Right, we shall start with this quantity. This is 6 50-gram skeins. There's only 300 grams here. And this is the Tin Pure Gint from Sandnes Garn. This is a Norwegian yarn. And I got the colour Natural Tweed. I specifically got the tweedy one. And I have 6 of these. They're 50 grams each. They are made up of 66.7% Norwegian wool and 33.3% Peruvian tweed from wool. So this is a 100% wool yarn. It's just 2 different types of wool. And unfortunately, they only had 6 of these when I went. I would probably have bought an extra 2 if they'd had it. Unfortunately, they didn't at the time I was there. So my plan for this is to make just a little cabled sweater vest. Not heavily cabled. I was thinking of just doing sort of a 2 cables down the sides and maybe a little bit of textured stitch in the middle. I don't want anything too... No, I wouldn't say fancy. I don't want anything too complicated. I kind of just want the yarn to shine for this. And I think it's about time Sandnes Garn tried to make amends for what it did to me with that tin liner I used a couple of years back. As some of you may know, I made a tank top using tin liner. I still occasionally wear it. However, I did not enjoy the knitting experience of it. The yarn itself ripped my hands open. It caused fingers to bleed and there was blood stains on my garment at one point. So I am aware that that was probably to do with the yarn content being cotton and linen, and it being quite rough as well. This is hopefully going to be Sandnes Garn's redemption, because I have kind of avoided them for a bit because of that. But this feels quite nice. It's wool. I prefer wool. We'll see what we get from this. So there's 300 grams of yarn. So that's now 1.3 kilos of yarn going into stash. Oh dear, such a shame. Oh no, whatever will I do? Right, moving on. This was my big purchase. This, I knew long before flying out that I was going to be buying some of this. I hadn't decided if it was going to be the fingering or the DK. I hadn't decided on the colour, but I knew I was buying some of this yarn. And that is tuku wool. So this is their fingering. This is 100% Finnish wool made in Finland. Okay, this is a local yarn. And oh, I love this. Please excuse me a moment. But yes, so I bought 4 skeins. 4 beautiful skeins of this kind of marled tonal pink. So this, let's find the... Yeah. So the shop I went to is like the makers of this. They're the, like, it's what they're known for. The rest of the yarn shop is just, but this is their like pride and joy. This is in center stage, quite literally. And it gives you like pretty much the address of where it was. So you can, I don't know how well this is going to focus, but you can see it says Jyväskylä on it. And I know the name begins with a J. Before I went to Finland, I was calling it like a Jyväskylä. Jyväskik. We were so confused. And then our Finnish friend said it and he was like, ah, that makes a lot more sense. So it's Jyväskylä. This is made in Jyväskylä. And yes, I'm aware I'm probably still saying it wrong. I know, I'm sorry. Okay, I don't speak Finnish. I am so sorry. Okay, I struggle with my own language. But this. Beautiful, gorgeous, amazing. So there is 370 meters per 100 grams. And this is the colourway H43 Kaluna. Which is, once this is finished, is going to get so confusing because this yarn is also called Kaluna. They are very different though. So this gorgeousness was this was my big purchase. This was my splurge. And this will be the like souvenir piece from the whole trip. I haven't yet decided exactly what pattern I'm going to make with this, but it's going to be a cardigan, probably cabled. I think this would look really nice in cables, but we shall see. I am not going to hurry to find a pattern for this. The right pattern will make itself known in time. But this is the souvenir yarn. If someone said to me you could only keep one quantity of yarn, it would be this. Like, coming back from my trip to Finland, if I'd say been stopped at border control and they'd said you can only keep one lot of yarn, this would have been what I would have kept. I probably would have cried, but without hesitation, this is what I would have kept. So, yes, that is my yarn haul. My acquisitions. My 1.7 kilograms of it. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. I need to start working on some of these projects. Yeah. But anyway, I am going to talk about my trip to Finland. However, I'm going to give the camera time to cool down. So I will join you back here. Seconds for you, but probably about half hour to an hour for me. And catch you in a bit. It's a different day. So when I was recording this on Wednesday, the camera kept overheating. Even though it was on top of an ice block to try and keep it cool, it was just too hot for it. Yesterday was even hotter, so I tried turning the camera on once and it wasn't happy with the heat, so here we are. If you're not interested in hearing about my holiday, then, you know, it was nice seeing you again, or if you're here for the first time, welcome. If you're not interested in hearing about it, perfectly fine. I shall see you next week. If you are interested in hearing about Finland, my little travel experience, I'll try not to waffle on for too long, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. Starting with the day we flew out. That was a very, very early morning for us. We were up at 3:45 in the morning. It's not often we see 8 o'clock in the morning, so got up, got ready, left. We still made it to the airport late, even though we allowed... so we were flying out from Heathrow, which meant we had to touch the M25. If you're not from the UK, I'm sure you're all... But anyone from the UK is probably very aware that the M25 is basically just a giant car park. If you're not from the UK, the M25 is basically a giant car park. You barely move. We were on there for just a few miles, I think it was, and we ended up being on there for nearly an hour to do, what, 6 mile, if that? So, so we were advised to get there with 3 hours before our flight. By the time we'd got there, parked the car and made it to the airport, we had 2 hours. Thankfully, it was quite smooth checking in our luggage. We went down through security and we got through security in about 5 minutes. However, I got flagged going through the metal detector. I was like, that's strange, I've never been flagged before. And was it my glasses? Was it my piercing? Because I have a belly button piercing. Was it my watch that I realised I'd forgotten to take off? No. Apparently, going through, well, it wasn't a metal detector, it was a full body scanner, basically. And it said I had something on my right ankle. I was like, no? So I had the wand woven over me, you know, checking everything. She patted down the leg, both legs, then she took them to another thing. I was just like, off you go. So, false flag there. And then in the one carry-on case that we had with us, I don't know, I know this is not the same in Europe at the moment. It's slowly being rolled out to the different airports, but Heathrow's gotten rid of the 100 milliliter per thing limit. You could take as much as you want, so long as it's like, I think something that's sealed or different things, but in the checked luggage we had 2 bottles of sealed iced tea, and that case got flagged. And for some reason, only the 1 bottle of drink got flagged. The raspberry Lipton iced tea. So that was fun. But other than that, pretty smooth sailing. We went and had 2nd breakfast, 3rd breakfast. I don't know, on the day of travel, we just tend to like, I wouldn't say they were full meals. We tend to snack the entire day if it's going to be basically an entire travel day. I will say, Helsinki airport is the worst airport I have been to. So every other airport, when you land, you go through, you got the scanners, you scan your passport, you scan your fingerprints, they take a picture of you, and then they either send you to a desk to get some questions asked, or they send you on through. Well, Helsinki Airport doesn't have that system. So you basically, unless you were part of the European Union, you were all chucked in this one queue to go to a bunch of counters to speak to a person. It's like, okay, that's fine. However, there had to have been about 300 to 400 people in this queue, and they had 9 desks on. They had 25, I think it was, 26, but they had 9. But then as the queue was getting bigger behind us, up to probably about 500-600 people, they started taking people off till it was down to just 6 people. And it took almost 2 hours to get through border control. And by the time we got through there, we had no clue where our bags were. Because they'd come out, they'd come through, they'd gone round and round and round and round, you know, on the baggage thing. Then they'd been taken off and moved, which was not exactly thrilled by. And then when we did find them, it looked like somebody was about to walk away with my suitcase. My suitcase is very noticeable. It sticks out like a sore bollock because it's neon pink. But for some reason, it was put with another guy's suitcase that he was hanging around and stuff. And I just went up to him and I just took my case. I didn't say anything. I just went and grabbed my case. I pulled the case away, I looked at the label, and I walked off. Really obvious which one's my case. And then from there, it was very, very smooth sailing. Went and got a cup of coffee because we'd been standing in a queue for nearly 2 hours. Went, got a train into Helsinki Centre, got a tram basically to the front door of the hotel. Smooth sailing, really great. Hotel was great, Helsinki was great. We had lots of fun in Helsinki. We did a number of like museums and exhibits. First full day we were there, we went to a Lego Jurassic Park exhibit, which was really fun. I might try and add a couple of pictures in here. Then we also went to the Paradox Museum. Went and had a look round. Yeah, we explored the city, had a wander. The next full day we were there, we went to the Helsinki City Museum, which is a free museum, all about the history of Finland, and that was amazing. It was nice to learn about. I do love a good museum, and this one was in 3 languages, so it was in Finnish, Swedish, and English, which was nice. We were perfectly prepared to have like our phones out for like the audio tour, because that comes in, I think, 20 odd languages. So, but yeah, it was a really nice time. We had a good time. I will say there is one thing. If you go to Helsinki and you come across this big white and green Lutheran cathedral, just admire it from the outside. It's not worth the €10 to go inside. The crypt underneath is free to enter. Anybody can go in there. But to go inside the cathedral, you have to pay €10. And you walk in, there's this big room with all the pews. You can go up one set of stairs into another set of pews where you can get a semi-good look at the organ. And that's it. You can't go around, you can't go to the bell tower, you can't actually get up close to the organ to have a look. You basically walk into a very, very bland, very, very dull white room, and that's it. And yeah, that's not worth it. It's really not. You can find pictures of it online, which we found out after. So yeah, very, very pretty from the outside. I'm sure I've got a picture that I'll put in here. And then, yeah, we didn't get to do all of the museums that we wanted to do, mostly because there was a fair few museums and we just didn't have the time. We did want to go to the art gallery, but going by the size of that, that's an all-day affair, and we realised that when we didn't have all day. I went to a couple of yarn shops. Then we moved on to Jyväskylä, which we were meeting up with our Finnish friends and our Canadian friend who was flying over. From Helsinki, it's basically a 4-hour train journey, which is lovely because you get to see a lot of the countryside and all of the trees, lots of lakes. But that was 4 hours of just sitting on a train. Plenty of knitting time, but it was basically another travel day. Then that was on the Thursday. The Friday, they were all going to the World Rally Championship and I was left on my own for a fair few hours. Went yarn shopping, explored the city, and then met up with them and got absolutely and completely soaked going to this city stage of the rally to watch a bunch of cars go meow, meow. This it? Yeah, this is it. Isn't it fun? You and I have some very, very different ideas of what's fun, dear. So, yeah. Then the Saturday. Oh, the Saturday. So, we had rented a little cabin in the woods on the lake for the 5 of us to stay in. And on the Saturday, I was left there on my own all day. We had a little pier out onto the lake. You could go swimming in the lake. There was a boat, although we didn't use the boat. There was a sauna. It's Finland. I had access to a barbecue, as well as other cooking methods. I think I just had a sandwich for lunch and we had a barbecue when they all got back. But the main thing that I spent all day in and out of was the hot tub jacuzzi. Oh, it was great. I had such a lovely day, such a relaxing day. It was so good. Like, when they sent a message saying they were on the way home, I was like, oh, do you have to? So, I do highly, highly recommend, if you're going to go to Finland, and you're going for more than a week, I would suggest hiring a little cabin on the lake, because it is A, gorgeous, B, so relaxing, and C, it's so quiet. And not an eerie quiet either, because you can still occasionally hear some bugs. You can occasionally hear the people on the other side of the lake, but it was more of like a whisper than full on irritating and disturbing the peace. I do apologise if you can hear that noise. For some reason they are digging up the road outside my house yet again. Every summer out there digging it up. Okay, twice for the gas, now they're doing it for the electric. I'm waiting for the water board. Anyway, Sunday we hit up another museum, noticing a theme here, with our Canadian friend, because our Finnish friends were going to a naming ceremony for the one's nephew, and then we all piled into the rental car to drive 3 to 4 hours to Turku, which this car was not big enough for the 5 of us. So I am almost 6 foot tall, my partner is over 6 foot tall, and one of our Finnish friends, he is over 6 foot tall. He's basically the same size, same height as my partner. and then there was two 5'3", 5'4" individuals. Now, I am very broad, and let's not beat about the bush, I also have a rather large arse. So they were like, oh, why doesn't Sasha sit in the middle? I'm not being piggy in the middle. Because I was in the back, I can't be piggy in the middle. There's no way my arse is fitting in that seat. So my poor Canadian friend had to be piggy in the middle for this entire journey. The car we were in, like the two outer seats were like proper seats, and the one in the middle was more of like a flat lump bit. But if I tried sitting on that, my arse would have gone numb within about 5 minutes. But also I'd have been hanging over the edge. So it was not a comfortable car to do a 3 to 4 hour journey in. And fuel stations, petrol stations, service stations, whatever you want to call them, over there, didn't really have that much of a range of snacks. You would go in and there'd be a bunch of sweets, a bunch of drinks, and that's it. They might, if you were lucky, have like 2 bags of crisps to choose from. It's like, I want a snack, but I want something savoury. I don't want sweet. Everyone's there going, oh, sweets. And it's like, I don't want sweets. I don't want sweets. So I was very hungry by the time we reached Turku. And then Turku. We went to another yarn shop. We had a bit of an explore of the city because we were staying in a hotel not far from our friend's house. And we did some stuff with our mates. We just sort of hung out. It was quite a chill holiday, really. And then we had to come back, which does not too bad. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. However, once again, Helsinki airport is the worst airport I've been to. So never in all of my travels have I had issues once I've gone through security. So went through security, bag got flagged, but that's because I didn't realise the 100 milliliter limit. Thankfully we didn't have any drinks or anything at that point. However, in the carry-on luggage I had put our spray bottle of sunscreen because I wanted it in easy access, easy range for if we needed to reapply while we were travelling back. And yeah, it was 500 milliliter spray aerosol can. So that went in the bin. But then once through security, usually you go through, once you're through security, you're all fine, aren't you? You go through, you go and have a bit of a wander round, you know, you stretch the legs before the flight, maybe you have some food. If you're willing to take out a mortgage, you can have a drink as well. And it was all fine. We thought it was all fine. Then we were like, oh, well, our gate's just opened, so we'll head on over there. Why do I have to go through border control again? It's like, we had to go through border control to get to our gate. Like, there, where we were having food and eating, there was gates. But then to get to our gate, which was like the other end of the airport to where we'd been told to be, we had to go through border control. It was like, our gate has just opened. So we had to go through there. And then for some reason, so my Canadian friend was also going through and his gate was near there. He went through no problem, although he had another hour before his flight. My partner went through no problem. I got asked like 100 questions. So it's like, why were you here? Where were you? What were you doing? Couple of other things, a few other things. And the final question is, why are you leaving? What do you mean, why am I? I've shown you my boarding pass to get on a flight back to London Heathrow, and you're currently holding my British passport. Why do you think I'm leaving? I'm going home. But, like, I was at this counter for almost 10 minutes, like, just... What? Why? What? Okay, partner, Partner went through no problem. Friend went through no problem. Everyone else is going past. I was like, I just want to go home. Like, my gate is just down there so that I can go home. But, yeah. Hopefully the next time we go to Finland, probably in about 5-10 years' time, hopefully the airport sorted itself out and they've got their electronic gates and everything set up. Because I don't know if I can handle having, like, being interrogated on why I'm entering and why I'm leaving the country. Because, like, when I was at this guy trying to get to my gate to go home, like, why were you here? Tourism. But why were you here? So I had to explain. So it's like, where were you? And I was like, here. It's like, yeah, but where? So I had to tell him everywhere I'd been, for how long I'd been in each place, how I got between each place. It's like, is this normal? This can't be normal. I've never had this before. My partner thinks it might have something to do with my first name. Sasha. They're about to start hammerjacking the road. I'm going to leave this episode here. I hope you will have had a lovely week, lovely few weeks, and I will catch you all again next week. Bye, guys!